I love it when I'm the first one on. Hey, Mary.
Hey, I'm first.
Well, the first like audience person. You're
I
always
know.
first. Oh man. How's your Friday going? Hey, Daniel.
Hello, happy
No.
Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I've been wondering where you've been, Daniel.
I keep getting meetings scheduled Friday at like 11 or like 11:30, and I always feel bad about popping on and then popping off.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about that.
But I have no meetings. I actually have two meetings scheduled today, but neither one of them is during this hour, so it works.
Oh, nice. Good. Only two
Also,
meetings today total?
yep,
Nice.
pretty nice. And it also works out very well because I'm all of what, 4 hours, 5 hours away from being on vacation for a week. So I'm kind of in that like senioritis moment.
Oh, nice.
Where are you going?
We're going to Maui.
Ooh, nice. Nice.
So, which I mean, don't get me wrong, Maui's really nice, but we also live in California where it's not like super bad weather, so it's actually kind of similar temperatures there. Uh,
Yes. I
so
remember getting that nice California weather. Yeah, I would say how nice it was today. And then I'd be like, but it was like this yesterday and the day before.
this is very true. I mean, we've had like we've had some really bad rain, which is great for us. Don't get me wrong. Not complaining about rain. Droughts are terrible, but it has been dreary for a while.
That's no fun. That's opposed. Well, I know you're in Northern California, but at
Yeah.
least in Southern California, that's reserved for the month of June.
Yeah, the June gloom is a thing. I went to college in San Diego, and people were like, "It's amazing in the summer." It's like, have you been here in June? It's actually not.
It's awful. I mean, it really is June gloom. It's like overcast every day. I'm like, is this really California?
Welcome to First World Problems Hour with with Daniel and team.
Well, I think it's exciting you're going to Maui.
So do I. Don't get me wrong. I'm very excited, but it makes doing work kind of hard right now.
Oh, yeah, you poor thing. Okay, well, we don't have a lot of people on today, I guess, because there's no specific topic. But Justine did ask me if she could share a topic. So, Justine, if you'd like to jump in, you can go right ahead. And just so everybody knows, it is being recorded.
Yeah, hey guys, it's been a while since I hopped on these calls. We had a recurring meeting that's scheduled at the same time, but today was canceled, so yay. Um, so yeah, I'm glad to be seeing all of you guys virtually again. I am launching a referral program, hopefully by June, and I wanted to get your feedback because the way that our company wants to pursue this is not to just post a form on a page and then drive customers to that form and then fill it out and then follow up with the sales team, but instead they want to have the customer make that one-to-one introduction, CCing the salesperson. And then after that intro goes well and they want to book a meeting, have the salesperson go into Salesforce and log that referral. I'm iffy anytime we need to rely on the sales team to do anything, but they really value the relationships that the salespeople build. So they want to rely on that instead of making it like less personal by pointing them to a form. Have you guys dealt with any like workflows that follows this kind of procedure?
Getting
And
anybody
you
to fill
said,
in the Salesforce form, Justine, is going to be absolute hell.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought, but they were not warm to the idea of pointing a customer to a web page to fill out the form
There
themselves.
are other ways to do it to get the information into Salesforce, but expecting the sales team to go back and log that interaction is almost farcical. In
Yeah.
my personal experience, this is not generic in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's my hesitation about it too.
But that was the hardest part of automating the process, and we didn't let them coordinate anything. We still coordinated the entire interaction up until that point, where they actually booked a call.
Mhm.
But past that, anything except that function was something that we tackled as part of our workflow. We didn't let sales do anything.
So how did you find out that somebody was a referral then? Like, did you follow up with the customer after the call or something?
Yeah, I had a report in Salesforce that would show me who was available, make the suggestions, and then I would follow up with the salesperson after and say, did this happen? Yes or no?
Ah, okay.
And then I would log it into Salesforce, but I did it through automation. So I created, you know, like a weekly that would just upload the content into Salesforce
Okay.
from my spreadsheet.
Nice.
That's also like my preferred method, like putting them through a form. So having everything tracked in Salesforce, but I don't know, there's some internal pushback for that.
I would go back to accuracy and ask them what they're expecting in terms of accuracy if you let sales, because it will be more of a challenge to get that data. Other people could certainly speak up on it, but getting the sales team to do anything that doesn't directly impact, particularly this time of year, right, where we're end of quarter kinds of stuff, it's almost impossible to get them to do anything except log in the stuff that's directly related to their potential commission.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Thanks for sharing that.
A little bit passionate about it, maybe just a little.
No, I completely agree.
Okay, anybody else on that topic?
And I know we have some folks from Reference Edge here, and you know, thanks to Daniel for being a reference for Reference Edge and letting me know all about it. And Allison, I know like we had a chat the other day. I don't want to buy another program to support the referral program, so I was wondering if I could track it in Reference Edge. I was thinking like I would just, if I get a referral, I would just manually go into that account and then just mark them as log a reference, but it's like logging a referral instead. So they get the points.
Yeah, you can absolutely do it that way. It may be as you get started, the simplest way of doing it. There's a couple of other workflows that you could look at, and for whatever it's worth, I agree with what Kristine was saying, that there's just the challenge of it's like a sieve, right? Like it's just, and then like it just like falls through and you don't actually catch the stuff that you need. And you know, happy to kind of talk through that as well in like even the context of the solution and how that works and how that's better for you. But as far as what you're describing for doing it, 100%.
Okay.
Well, yay. Do you have any other topics you want to discuss today, Justine?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, who's next? Bring up a topic because I don't have many. It's been a long week. And if anybody's in chat, by the way, I can't see because I'm driving.
Nothing is there yet.
Okay.
I did my presentation last week, and I did some of my dry run testing of using generative AI to create multiple assets from a customer interview.
Yeah, how'd it go?
It went actually as expected, I think. All of the generative AI engines were able to do all of the documenting that I needed. So I was able to create long form and short form case studies. I was able to do a summary of the case study that would be like seismic ready for sales, so that we give them a description with a link to the posted version. I was able to take it and generate a white paper off of the content. It wasn't super long because Mary, you were part of the recording of it. So, you know, the content itself wasn't super long. It was just like, I don't know, 4 questions or something like that. And so I was able to get social posts from it. I was completely unsuccessful at auto parsing video without a pay tool. There are several pay tools out there, but they wanted a credit card to test, and I wasn't going to do that because I'm notorious for forgetting to shut those things off.
Yeah, I've learned I have to turn on a calendar reminder for the day before if I just want to test something.
So I didn't use any of those tools, but overall, it was as successful as I anticipated. I did have some success using the generative AI engines to take a look at the script and tell me the timestamp of some good content. So
Oh,
I could manually parse it,
Oh, that's
which
good.
was better. It wasn't what I was really looking for, because I did think, based on the press that I got from YouTube, that theirs would auto parse it. And that is not the case. It is completely manual.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That's
And
probably why I couldn't find anything on it.
yeah, I did some digging around in their help documentation, and then I did play with it a little bit once I got the video. And I also used the Synthesia tool to anonymize the video with avatars,
Okay.
which was
Oh,
actually
that's
kind of
cool.
fun.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'll drop up a link to play it so you guys can see it. But Lauren and Mary helped me record it. And so overall, the lesson learned was pretty much along the lines of what I expected. I was able to save a huge chunk of time by just making sure my prompts were well designed, and I iterated quite a bit. But I did test it with 5 different generative AI engines. I used ChatGPT, Claude.ai, Pi.ai, Bard/Gemini, and Copilot, Microsoft's Copilot. So I tested it using all of them, and some of them were better at one than the other. Nobody came out as a clear leader, although Claude speaks with my voice most often, without any prompting, without any specific design in the prompt. It used my tone most frequently. So I don't know if that's just because it's learning faster than some of the others about the way I work.
Is that a paid feature of Claude?
No, I did not. The only one that I have a paid version of it is ChatGPT.
Ah, okay. I
The
just
others
want
are
to
all the
say,
free version.
on the videos, there's a website, Exemplary. I think it's .ai or .io or whatever, but it will make the videos without like a credit card, but it
Ooh.
makes them in the short, like the short format.
Mhm.
And since all of my recordings are basically in a webinar, none of them look good.
Oh yeah, I'll play with it and see, because it might look different based on whether I utilize the Zoom recording or if I
Yeah.
use the avatar recording, right? Because the avatar recording is speaker only view,
Oh, okay.
right? So when I created it, when I was asking the question, my avatar is up on the screen, and when you were answering as Mary DiGenoso, then your avatar pops up on the screen, and then mine would come back and ask the follow-up question, and then Lauren's comes up as person number 1, and then she got to be Krista too. So all of that came up, and then I truly anonymized it. I created new voices from their library of voices and everything.
Oh, cool. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was really fun, and it did show me that I could save a big chunk of time by creating all of that content. And then I still edited it, of course, because my long form was like the hero's journey, and I had to iterate a couple of times to get that in the business format rather than a true game type format for the hero's journey, like a story, never ending story kind of thing. And but overall, I think the lessons that I was trying to take from it were valid, and it's going to help me move forward by showing some time savings.
Yeah. I like I'd like to see the prompts that you used.
I'll drop the
because
document up. I'm making a couple of more edits to it based on some stuff in Synthesia to get the rest of the video down, but I'll drop the document in the Slack channel, in the ChatGPT Slack channel.
Okay.
And you guys
Yeah,
can
that
see
sounds
exactly what happened. I showed as much of the results as I could from the different places that I got all the info.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
And the scripts and everything.
Um,
So.
Yeah, and I'd love to see the link to the avatar app you used, and I'll share the ones that I have for the videos.
Cool.
One of the
Yeah.
things that I found that's been really helpful with the calls every week is like looking for the podcast AI tools, because
Mhm.
they all
Oh,
have
I didn't
where
even think about that, because that would have done the certainly done the audio and again timestamped it. So
yeah, and they all do that. And I bought Cast Magic when it was a lifetime deal on AppSumo, and they just keep adding more and more features. So it's been really useful. Um, Actually, I was using it this week because I'm trying to make author pages for the website, and I was going through looking for all the transcripts where Daniel contributed. So I'll be doing that soon. Hopefully sooner than I'd like, but I wanted to track him down and see all of the calls he's been on and things like that. So yeah. What else is everyone up to this week? I know y'all have topics, so bring them up. I thought I saw Lauren come on. Lauren Stefano. Did I?
I'm here. Yes, just looking
Yeah.
for the mute button.
How are you? How are your programs? I always like to hear any updates you have to share.
Oh, I am very, very close to finally sending out the invites for folks to join our first cab. That has been a very long process, but I'm excited that hopefully, I thought maybe today, but probably realistically Monday, we will actually invite people and hopefully they will say yes.
Wow, nice. This is the first week I've heard much about cabs at all this year. And I saw somebody else brought up this topic in the community. I don't remember what it was, but I was like, oh, cabs. So they are still happening. But I think you'll probably do great.
Thank you. It is still happening. It's our first time, and so I'm interested to see. I feel like there's been a lot of, right, like internal education. Everybody was like, we want to do it. We should have a cab. And then, now there's a lot of like, okay, but let me tell you what you actually have to do. And so I'm cautiously optimistic, but I feel like there's a lot of like, no, really execs, like you have to show up, you have to be there. And we have to spend some money. So just trying to make sure we get all of those things buttoned up.
And when is the cab going to be?
So we're planning for 3 meetings. So basically 1 per quarter for the rest of the year. So we're going to kick off virtually in May. We're going to do an in-person in July that's kind of attached to another event that a good chunk of our cab will hopefully be at anyway. And then another virtual event in probably October.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So
So that'll give you time to pick up and learn from each one and improve and all of that.
that is the goal. Yeah. And then I'm hoping that once we're up and running, it becomes, like a quarterly thing on an ongoing basis that we bring the group together in some way.
I would, Lauren, that's really super exciting. I would take a moment as you're putting it all together and like launching this first one to celebrate the fact that you're building something out of nothing. It can get really heavy looking to be like, oh, it should have been this way, it should have been that way. But it takes a lot to build something literally out of nothing. And no matter how it turns out the first time, be happy about it and feel good about it, I should say.
Thank you. Yeah, I am very much like, well, ideally we would be doing it this, and this, but hopefully it'll be good enough and we'll learn and we'll iterate and hopefully it's a good experience for customers, good experience for our execs and everybody internally.
I'm sure it will be. It's one of those things where if nothing else, just go back to the math. One is in fact infinitely more than zero. So whatever you do will be infinitely better than not doing anything.
Totally. Totally. That's a very good point. I'm gonna put that on a little sticky.
And that is about as much calculus as I remember from my
Okay.
time in calculus.
Yes, agreed.
I have to run in and grab my kids from the school, but I'll be out in about 2 minutes if somebody wants to continue topics. There's plenty of people that will contribute on here. I'll be right back though.
Anybody else have topics? We could talk about cabs. Cabs are fun. As long as they're not spending so much money that it's just a boondoggle. But
I
depends on who you
also
ask.
learned a lot about cabs, as in Cabernets, from
Mhm.
somebody. I found somebody on our team who used to be in the wine business, and she had some great info. So we're going to send a bottle of cab as a welcome to the cab. 'Cause
Nice.
it's a good
Personally
concept.
labeled? Are you going to get them personally labeled?
It is not going to be personally labeled. We went back and forth a little bit, but it is. We thought there was some value in it being like a fancy brand that I'm told is like, I mean, I don't know. If I'm buying for myself, I'm like, ooh, $8 at Trader Joe's. Like, I don't know. This is a big investment.
Grocery
But-
outlet is always a good choice.
But this is a higher end line, so we are keeping the label on.
As-
But we are going to do some swag later.
As somebody who actually makes wine, I will say, my in-laws have a vineyard and I assist in wine make their wine. The difference between a $50 bottle of cab and a $100 bottle of cab is nothing. It's just the expense. You can get some that are like between 100 and 250 that you're like, okay, cool, this is worth it. But you're not going to find that many people that know the difference, and you're just wasting money.
We did a whiskey tasting too at our first in-person one.
And as somebody who's going to Scotland in a month, I highly endorse all whiskey tastings.
It was really fun. We had a professional come in and talk about the differences and how you can tell an Irish whiskey from a Scottish whiskey from a bourbon and our Kentucky whiskey.
And my guess is more than just one has an E and one doesn't.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. That was going to just be my asinine response. Also, I'm not sure if Mary thought we were just going to be talking about booze right now, but that's a perfect Friday topic.
It's Friday. Yeah. We went,
It's perfectly fine.
so last summer I went on a team offsite to Dublin and we did the Jameson tour and tasting. And yes, they also went through all the different types, and I don't know. I'd rather have a glass of wine, but it was still
Color was important. Color
Yeah.
does make a difference. You can tell a lot of it by color, but I just did a whiskey drink for mixology. So for what was the one that I did? Negroni in both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. Oh no, it was yeah, I think it was a Negroni. I have to go back and look now, but it's fun coming up with different ones.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, we
Welcome back,
moved
Mary.
over to alcohol, so there you go.
Oh, okay.
This is
Well,
what happens when you leave
I'll
us in charge. Inevitably, it comes back to wine and whiskey.
that's fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. It's better than silent. So I don't know if you all saw that Captivate Collective is going to be having a call the 19th. And they're going to have the like one of the head sales guys that was at Influitive come on and talk about the end of destination advocacy programs. And I've also been talking to a couple of vendors this week who are making some changes to both align with kind of like influitive openings, I guess, and some other changes that I can't say yet, but will be coming up very shortly. I just wanted to see like what you all thought about kind of like the future of customer marketing and advocacy and the platforms, and what you're thinking and seeing in your own travels.
I mean, I have nothing to base this on, just conjecture, but I think in general, people are less willing to have 8 million logins to 8 million different tools. So I think having things be, and that's both on the customer side and the administration side. So I think we will start to see things like tools become wider, maybe. So I would actually envision, I'm kind of surprised it's not all the way in there already, but like, why doesn't HubSpot just have it integrated, right? I mean, obviously somebody like Salesforce is probably too big, and you build it in some other way and like hook it in, but I'm surprised we're not seeing a little bit more of that integrated from some of the tools that are a little bit more user friendly, right? Like it just feels like it has to become part of that ecosystem in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Leading up to this week, I was thinking a lot about how customer marketing and customer success kind of seem to be shifting in a way towards each other, where either I'm seeing customer success start to take on a little bit more of advocacy and expansion, or customer marketing, who's already doing advocacy and expansion, taking on customer success. I've seen more of that than the opposite. But along with your ideas of what you're saying with the like having things inside the platform and stuff, I mean, as you know, or you may know, Orca this week launched their advocacy kind of, not platform, but basically you can do advocacy requests and challenges inside your own platform. It doesn't have to be in a community, although they will be putting it in communities, from my understanding, but you can put it in your platform. So that's interesting, and I think that goes along with what you're saying. And I think for years people have expected something like that from Influitive, but they never, I wouldn't say they didn't quite get there. Like they did something for Mountain Dew at one point that was like that, putting the challenges into their platform, but it didn't seem to roll out to be for, all 500 accounts or anything. So yeah, I'm just interested in seeing how this all plays out, if customer marketing is starting to eat customer success, or if they're just blending together a lot more. And of course the integration side, which seems to be pretty exciting. Just seeing what Orca did this week, but knowing what I know about other vendors as well. And it won't be too long. You'll all see it soon. Is Kristine still on? Kristine, do you have any thoughts on that, or Daniel?
Aggregation is going to win. I think we're going to start to see a lot more aggregation of tools over the course of this year. I don't think it's anywhere near over.
Can you just remind me? This is going to sound so dumb. I'm sorry, but what's aggregation?
But acquisitions, basically mergers and acquisitions of different tools altogether. I think that we're going to start to, I think that Salesforce is going to pick up, I wouldn't be surprised to see them pick up some tools. It would not surprise me to see Nick Mehta pull in some kind of customer marketing tools into Gainsight.
Wink,
I
wink.
totally agree.
Yeah, I think that is something that is It's got to be on his list. If he wants to own customer experience, he's got to take on some of those, at least advocacy, if not some of the other things.
You heard me wink, wink, right?
Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure.
I
Yeah,
think
I
there's a
think
hand raised. I know you probably can't see it, Mary, because you're driving.
that's true. Yes, I can't. I am driving. But no, I think there, because of this overlap in like customer success, which there's a lot of people in customer success I really respect and I like what they're doing. And I think it takes a lot of expertise to do customer success well. I think companies don't like to invest in hiring people with expertise to run as customer success managers. And that's why we see such a big disconnect there, because, you know, most of the CSMs I've ever seen have had like a year or two of experience out of college. And, you know, my idea for that is that's just going to feel insulting to the people that are trying to buy this when they're 10 years into their careers. So I think that's part of the issue there, and maybe why the post sales function is still changing so much. But yeah, I think there are more and more companies kind of merging together and acquisitions and stuff, and I'm excited to see where it continues to lead and how it might change to be more life cycle ish, like what Captivate's been talking about with the life cycle advocacy. And I don't know, I think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I would say what I'm seeing is CS is sort of dividing in two, not officially, but just sort of in practice, right? And on the one end of the really big customers, you're seeing more, I would say less of sort of traditional customer success or customer service and much more of a focus on the sales side and the renewal and the expansion and all of that as a piece of the relationship. And that's still on a very personal, individual, right? That's like the let's do really high-end events and let's wine and dine you and let's get to know you and really doing that. And then on the other end, it's all about scale, right? And I'm seeing more companies talking about scaled customer success or digital customer success or whatever they're calling it. And that's where I think there's so much overlap or alignment with what customer marketing has historically done, especially on the life cycle side, right? Like onboarding and adoption and things like that. I think there's definitely, and I think this is where like Gainsight is potentially going to want to play, is how do you start to automate more of that?
Yeah, I think that too, because when you think about customer education, customer success, like a lot of customer success is customer education. Customers need to know how to do things. They don't necessarily want to have to wait till next Wednesday at 12 o'clock to have their call with CSM who's going to walk them through a video. Like, just give me the video now. But at the same time, there's still a need to have some oversight. And I think when you look at customer marketing, you see the ability to scale a lot of like the user generated content into helping customers more quickly with adoption and retention. And so as companies are trying to be more profitable, they have to reconsider that and what we can bring to the table. So I was a little bit down about customer marketing over the last couple of years and kind of worried like where it was going to go. But just in the last few weeks, I think like since March 1st, I've seen a huge difference in the amount of companies that seem to be hiring, the number of people that are getting hired, and just more of this need to drive retention instead of letting people churn. So I'm hopeful. What's everyone else on the call think?
Hey, it's Maria. Sorry, I've been quiet. Yeah,
I
I've
knew you
seen
were
like a
on.
trip. Hi there, how are you?
Good. I've missed you.
I know, I know. I've been like heads down and we're gonna relaunch our program soon. And so it's been a bit busy, but all good.
Yeah. I know when there's like people that come to the community and they're like, oh, I just love being in the community. I've got to find a job. And then they find a job and it's like cricket. But
I know,
we're here. We're here.
I know, I know. I love these calls, so I really appreciate them. But yeah, there seems like there's been an explosion of the growth marketing jobs. I know within our own company, there's been several posted and filled pretty quickly. And I've seen them at other companies too. Because a lot of my colleagues, like former colleagues at several companies, are looking to get into that area. I feel like that's been kind of the explosion I've seen versus some customer advocacy, but I agree with you. I am seeing more customer advocacy come across the job feeds, which is good. Or
Yeah,
customer
I've seen
marketing in general, I should say.
Yeah, I've seen the customer growth, a focus on that as well versus just regular growth, like just prospects and new new accounts and things like that. So really trying to tap into where they're already getting revenue. But I guess that falls more on the customer marketing and customer growth side from what I'm seeing. But yeah, I'm glad that we seem to be picking back up because the last 2 years were a little tough.
Yeah, I still know so many people that are out of jobs and have been out of jobs for almost a year now. So
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. I redid my resume the other day and I did it specifically. I was reached out to for like several jobs in the last few weeks. And they were like, can you write your resume around this position? And so I did. And when I did it, I was like, my resume is a lot more generic and based on like where jobs were a couple of years ago. And I think that kind of contributes to like why we have to keep updating our resume and going back to things like that because the market constantly changes. So I'm wondering if others need to do that as well.
yeah, and it's interesting. I like have a friend who's a recruiter here in Louisville. She was actually laid off the past year, but she's working now. We were talking about just the way companies do like word searches or scale because so many people are qualified, but they never even get through. And so it all depends on what system the companies are using. And it's just, I mean, it's hard because I've got several different resume formats too. And I was using one I thought was brilliant. I had somebody work on it with me and it was a great template, but as I was talking to more and more people and I was working with like I guess it's a job placement company, they were talking about how like their opinion was like don't even be so savvy in the template that's laid out, just do like straight text because it goes through easier on some of the job searches. And I was like, really? But I think it all depends too. If you have contacts and you're able to use them and send your resumes, I always think the more polished ones present better. So I wish some of these job sites would just get a better flow of like, when you have to submit your resume and then it tries to fill in, like populate the resume. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like that's difficult. So I think some people, it just needs to become more simplistic.
Yeah, I agree. There are sometimes I will go to an application and see that it's on Workday and I'm like, no, I'm not doing it today. I don't have the patience for that.
There's a misassumption that once you do something in a Workday environment that your data is actually shareable, and it's not. Every single customer configures what they capture and how they capture it, and they're stored on completely locked in systems. So there's no way to say, oh, look, I applied for Workday and a Workday system for this company and then this other one. You can't, there's just no way to do that. It just doesn't work. And so it's really funny because they're configured differently, so they read the resumes differently, right? When you put your
Yeah.
resume in and it tries to auto-populate, it looks sometimes in the wrong places because it's configured differently than the one you did last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the ones that I was asked to, so just a couple of things. One I was asked to do, they were like, this is really about operationalizing the whole reference and advocacy approach. Can you redo your resume to talk more about the systems you've written and like brought together and things like that? And I was like, oh, okay. Like I can't just say that I've been doing all of these references and advocacy things for years. I have to talk about all these different systems. So like every single one seems so different. And then the job descriptions generally seem very similar, but when you ask more questions, you find out that the real focus is different. Like Brittany, I don't remember, Dawson maybe posted that Alpha Sense is hiring for customer marketing and life cycle. And I asked her, like, what do you think is like a major focus of this role? And she said, basically, collaboration with other teams, which I wasn't expecting to hear that when it's customer marketing and life cycle. So really trying to understand what they're looking for. I mean, it'd be better if they didn't post 1,000 words when you only need a few sentences on what you need, but you know, everybody's got to look professional. It's just hard to know exactly what they're looking for. All right, I'm going down my road. It's going to get rocky here in a second. Let's see what else. Does anybody else have a topic they want to discuss?
Hi, I'm going to just jump in. I'm Kathleen Shepard, although my screen name is Freeman and I cannot figure out how to get rid of the Freeman. I thought I had
Well,
sorted it
welcome.
out recently. But yeah, I think that the advocacy is definitely an important thing. I can also see how it could be blended into customer success. And I thought I had a conversation with someone at Gainsight a couple of years ago when I was at Snow Software, where they were actually talking about that they were in the process of developing some kind of reference management tool, which would make a lot of sense, which would then also make it easy for that to be part of that customer success role, perhaps. But I would say that my experience is in terms of the job, I think that it's always going to be relevant, but my challenge has been when you don't have the tools to be able to demonstrate the value, how it's impacting the revenue, that's when I think attention spans get short, unfortunately. And I've used smart sheets at one point when I worked at Skillsoft to be able to track. And when I had reference requests, it's very manual, but I made sure that they had to put in their Salesforce ID number in one of the fields in order to make a request. And then later on, I worked with the BI team and they were able to tie that into revenue, that was generated. So that was really helpful. But I think that if you don't have those tools, it's awfully hard. And I just think attention spans are very, very short these days. So that's been my experience with
Yeah.
with that. I mean, you can crank out great videos, you can produce great case studies, great quotes, speakers, people, customers that will talk with analysts or press or even develop great award programs. But if you're not able to get that number, that has been the challenge. And I wonder myself about customer advocacy and reference management, if it's something that is going to be a long-term position or if it's going to somehow morph into something else. And I know sometimes it goes under customer marketing, and basically it's the same job as advocacy or reference management. So it really depends, I think, on each company, how they view it. And then also the management team in terms of how much patience they have, because as we all know as practitioners, it's not like sea monkeys. You don't like pour in an envelope of sea monkeys and, boom, you've got something that's been created. you know, it takes a while to cultivate those relationships.
Yeah, I would say one, thank you for coming on. I've seen you posting in a couple of the communities this week. So one, nice to meet you. I know
Nice to
we've
meet
met
you.
before though.
We have in Boston, I think it was a year or so ago at, I think it was like the base event that was held. And thank you for having this forum to actually, you know, come in and participate. And I myself
Oh.
am looking for a job right now. I was with Google Cloud, and then my contract ended in January. So I'm like so many others out on the hunt, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, there are still people coming into the community talking about looking for a position. I'm just seeing more people post that they're actually getting hired. As far as the revenue, I'm kind of I'm not sure what I think about it because I think we have put so much attention on, well, if we can just show how much revenue we are actually impacting and driving, um, then we'll be able to keep our jobs. But I don't think that was necessarily the thing. I think it really came down to companies being like, okay, who's going to keep us alive while we're trying to figure out profitability
Yeah.
and it's sales. And so they just cut the rest of us. And now they're trying to figure out what caused that churn. Because when it comes to revenue, I have not seen anybody in customer marketing that I've talked to, um, the approach, even with these tools that can quote unquote show the impact on revenue, the thing is like Dean Shaw was talking about it. He's like, yeah, I've been researching it and trying to figure out exactly what my team can say that we've done to impact revenue. And the thing is when everybody says, oh, I impacted 3 million, somebody else says 4 million, and then you come together and the company's only had 5 million, who are you going to listen to? But
Right.
Daniel brought up something several weeks back about how his team was showing the multiple touches. And I think that's effective. I think that's probably maybe even more effective than being like, oh, we touched this much revenue, because at the top, they've got to be thinking, how the hell is it that we have all these teams that have generated $20 million a piece, and yet we have $10 million of income a year? Like, what is going on here? Because every, sales will say, oh, we generated the income and everybody else does too. Like, they have to have caught on to the fact that that's not possible. So I think we just became the collateral damage in these companies trying to reach profitability. And while, yes, it'll always be somewhat important to show, it'll be important to show our impact, I don't know that having a specific revenue number is going to be any more effective than like what Daniel's doing with showing those multiple touches. And now that so many companies have seen so much churn because they let go of so much customer success and marketing and, just that focus on customer, I think they're picking up on the fact that they need to have some, but it can't cost them so much that the company tanks.
Yeah, I agree. I think that having multiple touch points is really key, and that's really important. But also, if you can also be able to list the revenue in an accurate way, I think that just helps to justify. So I see that as when I was able to do that at Skillsoft, I know that was one thing that during a layoff period, I think that's what saved me, was I was able to say, with somewhat accuracy, hey, I was able to help to impact, $4.4 million. And I hadn't been able to do that before because I've always tracked my programs with spreadsheets. And then it was, you kind of like try to monkey it together and put it together, but it wasn't always perfect. So it helped, but I totally agree. I think you do need to have multiple touch points. And it also depends on, I think, what some of the leadership individuals deem as important. Some, I think, get it. Some realize that you can't always put a dollar number on it, but then when times get tough and you need to show profitability, you can easily say, well, we'll have somebody over here do customer references. Or maybe you've been so good at what you've done, you've generated so much that they feel like, I think we can kind of squeak by for the next 6 months or a year as we figure it out.
Yeah.
Work with what we've got. And I think sometimes I've over delivered, not that I wouldn't want to continue to do that, but I think sometimes that's, that's made it, I wouldn't say easy to eliminate the position, but just, or maybe I would, I don't know. It's just a tricky thing for sure.
It is. And especially in tech, there's always, what is it? The average tenure is like, it was less than 2 years, 2 years ago. So it's got to be even lower now. But you figure if you join a company for 3 years, you're going to go through multiple different people in leadership that come in with different opinions that,
Absolutely.
they want to change marketing, they want to change revenue and all those things. And
Yeah.
then, the company has to have layoffs or whatever else, and it's hard to avoid. I have a list of a lot of people that joined the community when I first started doing these calls 2 years ago. And I had a list of people that had wanted to be listed on a page of active in the community. And I had the company that they were at the time. And I'd say at least 80% are at a different company now. Daniel's not, but most other people are. But I think it's gonna turn around a bit, or maybe I'm just a little too optimistic. Mystic. Wow.
I too have seen a lot of job postings, and the thing that's funny is when I left my contract at Google Cloud at the end of January, I had 4 interviews for 4 different companies, and one I made it through, 2 rounds or so. And I always ask the question of, where are you in terms of the decision? Are you the beginning of the search, the middle, the end? Just because I'm always curious where I'm falling in their decision tree. And at one point, one had, and I always ask, what was it about my experience that was interesting that you made you want to have a conversation with me? And one said, it was you're one of 6 that we are interviewing, and that is 6 out of 600 for a particular job. So I think the number of people applying is just ridiculous.
Astronomical.
Yeah, and then I think that ATS, that applicant tracking software, is just brutal. I don't know how I made it through with 4 interviews. I've changed my resume to try to do more of the keywords and make it more of the job description, and I'm getting nothing right now. So I'm going to still continue with it for a little while, but I don't know. I might experiment and go back to just using that old resume. Like to your point, Mary, mine is very much like here's what I've done. Kind of traditional role of advocacy or reference management with metrics in all of it. But I'm wondering really how to really format to make it intriguing enough that you make it through the software to a set of human eyes. And naturally, the best way to get the resume is to have someone pass it along to the hiring manager. But even that has been that it's sometimes challenging to do that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard people say that the best thing to do is get it passed along to the hiring manager. And I guess sometimes it helps. In the past it did.
Mm-hmm.
But the last couple of years have been kind of vicious. And I'll just say, like, I haven't been applying for jobs the entire time. Sometimes I've been working on contracts, so I haven't been applying for jobs. But at this point, I just want to get on a team and stay on it. I have my second son going off to college soon. I'm ready to settle down with a team for a while, and just, yeah, really contribute and get my hands dirty again.
Yeah, there's something about the community of being on a team that I think because we're so focused on customers, I think it's in our DNA that's something that really drives us and attracts us to a job.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we only have a few minutes left. If anybody else has another topic they want to bring up, we can discuss that. Anyone?
I don't have a topic. I have going back to thinking through cost and value of our roles and things of that nature. Because I think about this a lot. Obviously, Mary, you said this, which is like, I know it's a controversial thing, but I would actually say we can all do ourselves a favor if we stop talking about money all the time and think about the value we apply, like we bring, and we can show that in many ways, right? I mean, this isn't meant to be bragging, but like I look at value that our team does, thanks because Reference Edge has out of the box reports. I can see that our deals, our work has affected 31 whatever $1 million over 3 years. But I guarantee you, if I ask my boss and my executive team, what do you think is more valuable, that or the fact that I now have 180 slides for the sales team to use at any one point and they know how to use it? Like that's the thing that we've been able to set up here, which is we change the conversation of our value is not tied to money. Our value is tied to helping teams get from point A to point B faster. And if you instill that in the frontline people, they will advocate for you and say this is actually quite valuable. And so I mean, there's no panacea of stopping people from getting laid off. And again, our team has been very lucky. But I think if you can stop being we can cut this and we don't lose anything because other people are taking credit for this money, I don't think anybody else is taking credit for that value you provide.
No, that's a really good point, and something that Alyssa Steiner mentioned briefly on the call back in December was about like partnering with sales to the point where they basically champion for you and they're like, yeah, we need that team. We need them here. We need them to get our jobs done. But I'm going to follow up with you, Daniel, and see about setting up a call just to talk about that, because we've had the debate before. But I think really listening to more about how you've done that would be really helpful if you're up for it.
Yeah, happy to. I think the biggest part, and it goes with the shift in the industry, right? I think the other reason why people in our industry keep being on the chopping block is that the people making these decisions are stuck in the past of what customer marketing and advocacy is. They understand it as, is there a case study on my site? Are there things that we are doing to talk to executives? And the fact of the matter is, those executives don't care about the traditional, or the people buying things now don't care about the traditional customer marketing, right? The people who are buying now are the people who have grown up in the industry, right? The CIOs are people who use the software originally. They could give zero whatever bad words right now. I'm getting on my soapbox, so I'm about to swear, but this is recorded, so we're not going to do that. They don't care about the, like, this saved X amount of money. No, they want to know that the team that they grew up on is going to be better off, and how can they see themselves in that story. And so there's just this paradigm change that we have to be the ones advocating for, that can really change that viewpoint. And if you change that viewpoint, you're no longer going to have people viewing your success as, well, back in my day, a case study was, challenge solution results, and that's all I'm judging you against.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a really good point.
So sorry, I know we're ending the call, but yeah, I've
fine.
been at Stripe 6 months now almost, but like, I think we're all hard on ourselves, but I think I'm considerably hard right now because, my last position I was laid off and I was like trying to show the value. And so I'm constantly in my head, when I go to sleep at night, what value have I brought today? But it's interesting because I've now spoken to over 260 account reps or CSMs as part of my initial engagement. And it was updating like all of the data and getting the process in alignment. And it was so tedious, but we've seen this explosion of questions come into our Slack channel. And even my boss said yesterday, I can't believe how many people are reaching out to us now. And she goes, it's because of those conversations. And I think that it's like, I am helping them do their job. And I'm finally seeing, that success and people being able to respond to their own users within 1 or 2 days versus the 1 to 2 weeks. And like, I mean, not to brag, but it's like, I literally have been sitting here every day. Okay, how can I articulate my value? and raise it. And so I'm like, it brings me such joy that I'm able to do that. And I know so many people on this call are able to do the same thing. Like I've seen it. I've heard you talk about it. I've seen it. And I think it's that connection where those relationships we're building and that ability to connect across the organization and really, as Daniel said, like move them along faster, move the company along, grow the company. It's not just about numbers, but it's just doing their work every day and doing it, quickly and, on point. So.
I love that, Maria. It makes me, a lot of these things remind me of the change management that I had to do when working in just community to get other teams to care about what I was working on and see the value that it was bringing to their teams so that they then felt that it was so valuable for customers, for the company, and all of that. And I do think change management in customer marketing and advocacy and the ability to really connect with and like talk to your executives, executives or just you're playing, the regular leadership is really important, but very lacking in our space. There's so many times where someone will say, oh, I wanted to do this, but my superior person says no. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not, a no is not a no. A no is just opportunity for you to do better communicating that. Like
Yeah.
salespeople don't take no for an answer. And that's, I
Well,
feel
it's
like
funny
that's what we
because,
have to do.
yeah, I drafted a letter for our CROs to send out about the launch because we're trying to encourage like people to attend the trainings. And the answer I got from a couple of people were like, well, she's never going to send it out. She sent it out like that evening and didn't make any changes. And I was like, okay,
Wow.
like, okay, like we're making, and my boss was even like, that's fabulous. Like they're hearing it. This matters here. So, it's baby steps. Like it's taken a while to get here and I'm very type A. So, I'm like, but now I'm seeing like all the successes, the little ones we've had along the way. And then like, I think that just building that credibility and trust with sales and CSMs, like we want to work with you, but we need your support too. It's
Yeah.
a partnership.
Yep. Yeah. I was just talking to somebody who was on this call yesterday. They were like, how do I get other teams on board with what I'm doing? And I'm like, you go to those teams, ask them what they think about what you're doing. What is a community? What is customer advocacy? How do you think it can impact our company and your job? And what are you working on now? Because then you can align what you are working on in your job to what they need in their job and build a partnership and have great relationships where people are participating because it's not a risk anymore. It's not a risk to say, okay, I'll give you an hour every week, but I'm going to drop the ball on other things because I have responsibilities. And I think that's something we have to keep in mind when we go to other teams, just that their jobs are on the line just as much as ours. We all have to be able to provide value and but at the same time building those relationships is one of those soft skills that makes a huge difference in companies.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you all so much. Not you guys, I'm sorry. Thank you all so much for hopping on. It was so good to catch up with you. 2 weeks from today, we have an exclusive pre-launch call thing with a couple of companies that I can't say much about. But you'll want to see it. It's going to be fun and exciting. And I think I use that word too much, but anyways, have a great weekend. It's Friday. Yay. Go celebrate St. Patrick's Day in a couple days and just have a lot of fun in Maui, Daniel.
I most certainly will.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.